Yo guys, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another interview with Budio's Boy Wrestling Fan. Today I'm with the professor, the prof, Rick Del Santo. How's it going?
It's going great.
Nice, good to hear. Now,
Going great. How about yourself?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Just trying to do interviews as much as I can while trying to keep up with my schoolwork. So.
Right.
I see you have an AEW shirt on. That's pretty cool.
Yep. Jericho, you're welcome.
So can you tell us more about yourself? Why do you have a nickname called the Prof, the Professor?
There's a guy, Lewis. You've heard of Sign Guy and Sign Kid through Don Kincaid?
I think so, yes.
He gave them. Yeah, he gave me the nickname the Professor. I've been basically, I know a lot about the history of professional wrestling, from the time I've grown up. So for almost 40 years worth of wrestling knowledge that they just called me the Professor.
If I asked you a Royal Rumble question, would you be able to answer it?
That depends.
All right.
Sometimes my memory does fade every now and again.
I don't know the answer to this, so I'm hoping you do. If not, it's fine.
Okay.
Do you know which year it was when Mick Foley, the three faces of Foley, were all in the Royal Rumble?
Was that 2000?
No, it definitely was not 2000. I think it was like 19.
No? Was it 99?
It was either 99 or 98.
Okay. So it's like, yeah, the years sometimes get mixed up a little bit. Yep.
So, how many questions does the professor get asked about wrestling, like, per day?
Well, I usually talk to my buddies about wrestling throughout the day. Whatever we watched the night before, whatever documentaries or wrestling we're catching up on during the day, I usually talk to, a couple of my buddies. So pretty frequently,
Nice. Now, you have started doing the Pro Wrestling Crate, if I'm correct?
Yeah, I just subscribed. Yeah.
You order, you just like pay a certain amount of money and you get a big box of shirts. Can you tell us more about that and what have you gotten in those boxes?
I saw like people on Twitter and on YouTube opening boxes and stuff like that, and I got really interested in it because of the contents, and I like shirts. And it's originally the reason why I bought it, because the shirts are usually exclusive to the crates. And so I've subscribed for the last couple months, and they're just really interesting. They're a lot of fun. They come with like anything from a shirt or two shirts, a comic book, and a bunch of knickknacks and stuff like that. And then one of the things that really attracted me to it was getting the autographs as well. Usually there's an 8x10 or some sort of autographed item in there.
What has been your favorite shirt and 8x10 that you've received?
Last week, actually, my favorite autograph that I've gotten in 8x10 was of Phoenix from the Lucha Brothers. That was a complete surprise to me, because it was like a backstock mystery box, and I didn't even know that I was getting it, but I got really excited for that. And my favorite shirt that I've gotten was the Dusty Rhodes shirt I got in last month's Pro Wrestling Crate.
Nice. What got you into wrestling? Like you said, you have watched wrestling all your life. You know a lot of knowledge. That's why you're the. What got you into wrestling?
I think, when I was a kid, it didn't really get me at first. Like the first couple of years, probably like 1984, I'd have to say. I just remember seeing Piper on TV, and then a few years later after that, I went to my very first live event, and it was like it was just the insanity and the greatness of being at a live wrestling event in 1988 was just so awesome that I became obsessed with.
Cool. Do you remember your what the first match was of what you saw?
The only matches I really remember were, there was I remember it was a TV taping for WWF Superstars back in 1988, and the only points that I really absolutely remember were Hulk Hogan wrestled Boris Zukov. The main event was Randy Savage against where he it was like probably a month after he won the WWF World Title at WrestleMania. It was April of 1988, so he won the title in March.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It was an awesome event. Yeah.
Have you gone to the independent shows like we talk about on the Fan Roundtable, like Battlefront, everything like that?
I haven't gone to a Battlefront show yet, but I nowadays I mostly go to independent events, and I rarely go to WWF events. I think I've attended 3 WWE events in the last, and 2 of them were last year for Mania and Money in the Bank.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you talk about Money in the Bank last year? And actually, what were your thoughts on this past weekend's Money in the Bank?
It was interesting. I didn't hate the Money in the Bank match like I thought I was going to, because the cinematic matches that they started with, on WrestleMania, and then they said they were going to be more. I really thought that I was going to hate it, but I ended up laughing a lot, and I really liked the way it ended with Otis getting the briefcase. I thought it was hilarious and completely. That's why I liked it, because it was out of the blue.
Thoughts on sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
I like.
Sorry, go ahead. You're like cutting out.
Yeah, I know. That's okay. Go ahead.
All right. What are your thoughts on Baron Corbin killing both Aleister Black and Rey Mysterio? He threw them over the ledge. That's kayfabe.
Well, the first thing I thought of was that's exactly what I thought of. I was like, so he's not going to jail for murder, throwing 2 people off the top of the building, and it was never talked about the next day, I guess, from what I gather. I don't think I saw Raw the next night, so it just seemed kind of ridiculous. WWE does a lot of stuff like that where they just will not bring up certain things.
How many live events have you been to? You said Money in the Bank last year. You've been to Superstars back in the 1990s or 80s. How many live events total?
Yeah. Since I was a kid, geez, I know there was like a few years where I didn't go to any wrestling at all, but I think 2 years ago I started to go to live shows again. Maybe 2 years ago, and I started going to like the Paradise Alley shows, and it got me into going to live wrestling again. And I think in the last 2 years I've attended more shows than I have in my entire life. To be honest with you, I was going basically 2 to 3 times a month, like indie shows, between the Paradise Alley shows and Northeast Wrestling, stuff like that.
For the people that don't know what Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling and Northeast Wrestling, what would your opinion on that be? Like, what would they expect if they did attend one of those shows?
It's just, they're both really good family-friendly events, shows that they run, and that's what I'm about. I'm not really into like hardcore wrestling, deathmatch wrestling, or I'm traditional style, stay at the front door, and I just, and that's what both companies family friendly type show, kind of like what I grew up with in the 80s and 90s, and without all the craziness of the WWF in like 1994 kind of a thing.
Nice. So you have been a fan for a very long time. Can you tell us what are your thoughts on Don Kincaid and like how you met him in wrestling?
Going to Paradise Alley shows out there, and his excitement was just really awesome. And he just, I ended up just becoming friends with him through going to the shows, and I think he's one of the nicest people and his enthusiasm for independent wrestling or wrestling in general is just amazing. He's, a very important guy to wrestling in the Northeast. He does a lot of really great work with his Kincaid Files, the Stirring the Pot show, and helping other fans. And that's what, to me, that's what wrestling is about. It's stuff like that, like making friends and the unity. It's really great.
Nice. So I interviewed friend Eric from Roundtable this past Saturday, and we talked about what our favorite types of wrestling is. And like you said, you don't really like hardcore wrestling, deathmatch wrestling. So what is the type of wrestling matches?
What kind? More so traditional wrestling. Just two guys tagged without all the weapons or the comedy spots or stuff like that. It's just I like just stuff like that. It's kind of hard to explain the traditional wrestling spot, and I know it's something that's kind of like went away in a way. It's not a lot that you see these days, but you still on occasion do see it. And Paradise Alley is a really good example of that. Them putting a style professional wrestling show.
What are your thoughts on professional wrestling nowadays, like with WEW not having fans in the crowd? What are you thinking about that?
Well, the world's in a crazy place, and there's no sports in existence presently, and the fact that companies like WWE or AEW or any indie promotions that are doing creating content for the viewer, for the fans that have been there forever, it's got to be a good thing. And they might not be doing the greatest storylines on their television shows, but they're trying, and they're still creating things for the fan to watch. And like I said, there's a lot of people that won't travel because they're working on a limited roster, so to say, because there's guys that won't travel that because of this COVID-19. But the WWE is trying, and AEW, there's other companies that are doing a little bit better than WWE as far as the empty arenas. Like, I really think AEW is knocking it out of the park. They're doing a really good job of the empty arena stuff, the no fan stuff. And I thought the Impact TV tapings were really good with the empty arena stuff that they did the last couple of weeks. Those were really good too.
Nice. Now, you talked about on the roundtable about what independent shows you're watching. Can you name some of those?
Well, Chikara has started the Action Arcade show on independentwrestling.tv. Limitless Wrestling is doing a show called Pandemic at the Dojo, which is it airs Tuesday afternoons at 5:00 also on independentwrestling.tv. And usually those matches end up on YouTube a little bit, throughout the. It's just a couple guys, a match and a couple students or other wrestlers around the ring in the dojo, the Limitless Dojo. And that's really good. Those are. I've still been watching Ring of Honor. They feature like an episode on someone in the roster, featured the best of, and along with like interviews, and that's pretty much it, really. I'm still watching Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and the NWA.
Nice. Is there any independent wrestler on the indie scene right now that you think they're gonna go big soon?
I think Flash Lawler's got a great future. He's very young. I think he's only been wrestling a year or two, maybe. He's really good. He does a lot of flying spots, but I think he keeps at it. He's going to be really good.
Now, our friend Don Kincaid, he has a thing called the Stirring the Pot title. He doesn't defend it. He tries saying that a skeleton called Uric, which just is a head, skeleton, is the champion. Okay. Do you want a shot at that?
Sure, why not? I've seen the belt. It's a pretty funny belt, and it's kind of awesome, but why not?
Nice. Um, where do you think wrestling would is going to be when this pandemic is over? Like, I had an interview with Logan Black yesterday, and
Right.
I told him, like, I asked him if he thinks it will be a reset button rather than just continue what was going on before this. Where do you think wrestling will be?
I think at first there's gonna be smaller crowds. They're not gonna be letting so many people into building. I don't know if it's going to be necessarily be a reset button. I mean, there's a lot of storylines that they probably necessarily can't ignore. As far as like the NWA, they probably will do a reset, as they just stopped pretty much airing everything that they had, and we're just kind of using back footage for stuff, and like backstock footage and doing random things, but because everything that they had was leading up to their pay-per-view, and then that just got canceled because of this. So I think things will continue. I just think it's going to be in a smaller volume for a while.
Who is your favorite wrestler of all time?
Geez, that varies. But really, of all time, I usually go with Arn Anderson. He's just when he, in the '80s when I saw him in the NWA, he just stuck out, and I just thought he was really awesome.
Cool. Who's your favorite tag team of all time?
Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard. So, those guys just kick the crap out of everybody.
Now, I'm gonna ask you a question and I want your opinion on it. When
Sure.
the second generation wrestler, so like for example, Ric Flair, his daughter Charlotte Flair, she's a wrestler. Do you think second generation wrestlers have it easy going into wrestling or harder? What is your opinion on it?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
Yeah,
You were going out for a second.
I asked, do you think second generation wrestlers, for example, Ric Flair, his daughter Charlotte, do you think that second generation wrestlers, they have it easy going in if they're going to continue wrestling?
Well, going into WWE, I think at this day and age, it kind of does, because some of them were never necessarily wrestlers before. I don't think she wrestled prior. I think that, some of them may just have shown interest and then got pulled in there, and because their, parent or whoever they were related to, Paul and that kind of thing. Where back in the old days, a lot of them just kind of worked their way. But some of them do get pushes because of their name, basically, such as Charlotte. I mean, but she's got some talent. She's not the worst wrestler out, in the world. She's actually really good, but not my favorite.
A few more questions. Where have you ever wanted to be a professional wrestler, or did you always just want to be a fan of it?
As a kid, I mean, who doesn't when they're watching people like Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair and stuff like that on television? It's the excitement and everything that's going on in television. You want to be a part of it. And, when you get older, do things like you get to school, you get a career and stuff like that. And I'm happy doing going to live shows, making friends with people. I do a podcast like 2 times a month where I talk wrestling. And I do, I collect merchandise, so I've been doing videos on YouTube about that. So I'm kind of happy doing that. And I made, quite a few people, quite a few friend wrestling shows that I keep in touch with and talk wrestling. So it's fun. That's it for me.
Nice. Now, if you could have a match in wrestling and it would be who would your opponent want to be, and if you had a tag team match, who would your tag team partner be?
Well, one of my other favorites that I have not mentioned here today would be Chris Benoit. I'd always, I think that he's one of the greatest, and I'd probably say I would team up with him and take on Eddie Guerrero and Dean Malenko as a team. So I think that'd be a hot match. I'd probably be the weak link in the match, however. So,
What about if you could have a dream opponent, who would it be?
dream opponent, probably Bret Hart.
How
I mean,
come?
he's one of the greatest technical wrestlers there ever was. I've seen him had a bad match. I once saw him go an hour with Ric Flair in Hartford, Connecticut, and it was one of the greatest matches I've ever experienced live.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Is there anything that you would like to ask me?
When did you discover professional wrestling?
I discovered professional wrestling in 2011. I attended one of the house show WWE Live thing, and it was like one of those Road to WrestleMania or Royal Rumble thing. And I didn't know what it was at first. My dad took me and my brother. I went. I didn't know what to expect. All I know is that I just saw a giant square with ropes on it. So, and then I just started to notice that people were beating each other up, and no rules were being broken. So, I looked into it after the show, and I was like, "Oh, this is wrestling. It's a big thing in the world." And then I found out it was from WWE, and I just started watching, and I didn't even know there was an independent scene. I just thought like, oh, they find guys from the street or something. That's what I originally thought. And they were like, "We'll train you, and you have a match." But yeah, that's how I discovered it.
That's cool. That's a cool way to discover it. Yeah.
Well, I thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Is there anything that you would like to promote? You are frozen. I cannot see or hear you.
What's that?
Oh, you were frozen for a second. I didn't hear anything. So.
Yeah, you were frozen.
But this has been fun. Is there anything that you would like to promote? If you have YouTube, social media?
You can check out my YouTube. It's the Real Rick Del Santo. I put up a podcast every, twice a month-ish, and I do videos on my wrestling memorabilia that comes in. You can check me out on Twitter and Instagram. It's the Rick Del Santo, and that's pretty much it.
Well, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. Please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, and see you in the next one.
Thank you very much.